Yeah, so we met, I feel like it was maybe a year ago at an event, and you kind of had this crowd surrounding around you at this cocktail party at one of the banks.
Yeah.
And it's because you're not a typical banker, biz dev guy, consultant. You got a pretty cool story. So yeah, maybe share with the audience just a little bit about who you are and your journey.
Okay. How long do I have here?
Yeah, we'll start short and then we'll dive deeper. Yeah.
Okay. We immigrated to Canada when I was 9 years old due to the war in Yugoslavia. I was from Kosovo, so late 90s. And so didn't speak a word of English, came to Canada, didn't know what football was, didn't know what hockey was, and quickly try to make new friends. And obviously having a strong soccer background, that was like my way of trying to enter the Canadian kind of ecosystem with finding new friends and learning the language. And slowly with that, I realized that soccer is not what it is today. With all the academies back then, there's like a regional team and the provincial team, and then if you were lucky enough, somehow you made it to national, right? So there's no TFC or Vancouver Whitecap team, and so I quickly realized that soccer, even though it's my true love and really loved it and was good at it, might not be the answer for me in Canada. And so I had a teacher in grade 9 just kept asking me, hey, come try out for football. I'm like, no, it's too dangerous. I'll play soccer, I'll play basketball. At this time, I was like, I had a sort of a naiveness around me that like, I'm going to play professional. Like whether it be soccer or basketball, whatever it was, it's like I always had this mind like I'm going to make it. And like I thought in grade 9 I was going to play for like the Tar Heels or the Blue Devils, right? So, and then quickly realized that's, I'm not tall enough or fast enough, but still enjoyed it. And this teacher kept asking me, come try football. And then eventually he's like, hey, listen, come to one practice. And if you don't like it, we'll never ask you again. So in grade 10, went out to one practice and absolutely loved it. The camaraderie with the guys, the work they had to put in every day, and just got to meet like 100 new friends in the first day of grade 10, right? And so you were one of the guys. So I really fell in love with the sport, which led me to play on Team Canada, represent Canada in the junior level and the senior level, and which led me to Western. Spent 5 years there, did a master's in sports management leadership, and then I didn't get drafted in the CFL. Fell short, so that's why I did my master's there, my 5th year. And eventually Winnipeg came calling. So I had entered the CFL Winnipeg in 2014 and was really excited about it. But this thing in my mind was always, or the advice I got from former players or older players was like, you need to make good relationships. You have to figure out what you want to do post-football, and you got to do it while you're playing. So my whole thing was like, how do I kind of leverage these relationships? How can I build kind of community around me of what I potentially want to do? And it led me to thinking, okay, maybe I need, because I always had a business mindset, a couple of small businesses, startups that I had succeeded. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do my MBA. So I did my MBA in finance while I was playing the CFL. So 6 years go by and kept going to these camps down in the States just to kind of sharpen my iron. Because there'd be over 150 kickers and narrowed down to 30 kickers, and then there'd be anywhere from 28 to 32 teams with like scouts just standing behind you as you kick. It's like you can hear the pencil scratching on there. It's like yes, check mark, or X no. So I kept going to these camps. I kept seeing the guys that were in these camps playing in the NFL. So like, and that naiveness of the way my mind worked from early age was like, I'm going to play professionally something. And so kept going to these camps, kept doing well. And eventually I'm like, all right, I gotta take a shot here. Asked for the Ticats to release me at the time. And so went to this camp, this was the start of 2020. Went to this football camp and did really well. Was one of the top 5 kickers, and eventually signed with the Los Angeles Rams. Later moved to Dallas and Carolina, where I played regular season games and jumped around half the NFL during the next few years. And all while I was actually working for KPMG at the time. I had started as an internship there early 2020, and which led to me working for them for almost 4 years. And once I was done in the NFL, I decided to come back to Richter and to Toronto. And Richter had to come knocking and said they need someone that kind of has a Big Four experience, has interest in the story, help someone to build the pipeline within our growth here in Toronto. I didn't know who Richter was, to be honest with you, and they know that. But they'll just have a coffee with us. We want to, this is what we have planned for you, and really resonated with me, and just trying to help them grow the Toronto market. And it's a 100-year-old Canadian firm, right? So I got to learn a little bit more of what they do and how they differ from the Big Four, and which really resonated with what I am looking for in terms of a post-football career. And so I was really fortunate enough to land the opportunity and came back, and 1 month in, and Toronto Argonauts heard that I was back in Canada. And they're like, hey, do you want to keep playing football? And I said, well, I just started this job. And they're like, that's okay. Like, you're a kicker. Like, we don't need you to practice every day. And I'm like, yeah, but I said, like I told Richter at the time, like, hey, if NFL calls, because I was still kind of a free agent, if they call, I'm ready to retire. But if they call, I'm going to take this call in the next 3-4 months. CFL came calling, and I said to them, hey, I'm sorry, it's really early on, but what are your thoughts? I'll leave it up to you guys. If you don't want me to be involved in the CFL, I won't. Like, no, this fight, like the COO, she goes, if I tell you no, I wouldn't want you to work for Richter. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, like if I say no, then you're not working here. So you got to do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So she's like, just let us know how we're going to work this out. And, 3 years later, we're still kicking it and still doing well and helping grow the practice here. And we've hit our century mark this 2026. So it's been a very exciting years with certain events that we've been hosting for our clients, and just really helping see all the plans that we kind of put forth a few years ago come to life. So that's my story today.
There's a lot there, man.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that you referenced still kicking it, because that's like a great caption for you. And so many similarities between you and I. No, I'm kidding. Just the KPMG part. Man, was it something about immigrating or something about your childhood or upbringing that led you to even have what might have been like the naive belief that you could make it into like professional leagues? Like what about you made you even think it was possible?
Well, I think two things. One, from an early stage, like my dad always said, like, if we stay in Europe, you're going to play professionally somewhere. Because I was in grade 1 playing with grade 4s. So he was a phys ed professor back home, and so I would go to certain tournaments, certain training that people that were older than me, like my sister's age, that I play with their classmates and stuff like that. So I was just a little bit ahead of my time in terms of that. So I think that was giving me the confidence to be able to say I am good enough to play at the next level. But the second part, I think, is Canada. Because when you come here, you like, it was stressed to us, you can be whatever you want to be. You know what I mean? And that like the naiveness in my mind of like, I can be whatever I want. Yeah, if you want to go to university, you can. It might be expensive. Well, there are scholarships for that. So the opportunity, the land of opportunity within Canada, I think really fundamentally shifted my brain to say, this is doable. And when you see it then happening, and then like my sister went to university, and it was like, my dad went to university. He was the only one in our family before that went to university in Sarajevo, but no one else out of like his siblings ever went to school or university, right? I think it's all these things that really get embedded when we first came to Canada of like, this is land of, you're free here. You don't have to worry about someone sniping you or dropping a bomb on you or any of that stuff. It's like, you can go to school freely. You can walk to school. You can drive to school. You can ride your bike, whatever you want. And I think it's that the fundamental shift in our lifestyle that really kind of spearheaded me to be like, okay, and I can be whatever I want to be. And of course, like even with my parents and their support, like my dad, I remember going to university. He's like, hey, focus on school, because if you're not doing your school, then you're not playing sports, number one, right? And I got your back no matter what. And I think that shifted my pressure of like, once I'm done school, do I need to find a job? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? It's having his support, having the mindset of, I can be anything I want to be, right? That really helped me get to that level professionally.
There's two movies that keep coming to mind when I think about you.
Yeah. Rudy. No kidding.
No, Rudy's a good one. There's Ace Ventura with Laces Out.
Laces Out. Yeah.
And then
Classic,
there's that. What's that Mark Wahlberg one where he tries out? He's like,
the Philadelphia Eagles one, right?
Yeah. So good.
Invincible.
Invincible. It's such a good one. And it's not because you were like a dude working in a bar that just went to try out and make a team, but it's because you are interwoven with this world of, corporate and make it look like a different path than just, a star athlete that went into the professional ranks.
Yeah.
So it's a unique story, and maybe you'll have a show or a movie as well. But for now, it's just the CFO podcast.
Yeah.
What moment did you realize, like, okay, everything I did, like from one sport or a couple of sports, like soccer in particular, but like translates to kicking a football? Like, what was the very moment where, like, whoa? And maybe it is super obvious for most folks, but like, you weren't growing up thinking I'm going to be a kicker,
right? Yeah, I think it was the teacher that Mr. McCardle who got me involved into football in grade 10. It's like, hey, I saw you kicking a soccer ball really far. We have a kicking position, and then it's like at that time, I'd watched the Super Bowl. I didn't know much about football, but I'd watch the Super Bowl and then see like, hey, like maybe I can play football one day as like as a joke. And over time, I think convincing myself and then trying out, it's like, oh. They hold the ball, I can kick it, and then kickoffs, I can kick it as far as I want. Like, this is awesome. Because I always had like a hard shot or big shot in soccer. So I think that translated to it. And then eventually I started working with a kicking coach and getting the right technical, because it's like, you can't just play soccer and football. There's like, there's so much technique towards it. And then eventually once you, not max out, but get pretty close to your maxing out your technique and like building your physical body to be able to kick, 60, 70 yarders, 75 yarders, then it's in the mind. So it's like, how do you train the mind? And I think everything translates to it, whether it's for sports, whether it's for school, whether it's for business. Like I use a lot of analogies. I think sports and business are like very parallel. So how I prepare for a game, it's how I would prepare for a big meeting. It's how I would prepare, to kick a game-winning kick. And same thing when I'm, meeting with a client and want to make sure that all my ducks are in order, make sure that I can answer any questions that they may have. Similarly, when I'm prepping for a game, it's like if we're like this week we're playing in Ottawa, it's like, is it going to be raining? Where's the wind like? I look at the different application that'll show which way the wind's moving, what time, where it's coming from. Like I'm almost a meteorologist towards closer to game day, so I can prepare my mind, because I'm going to use a lot of visualization leading up to the game. Right, making sure that I'm prepared. So, like by the time I actually kick a kick in the actual game, I would probably visualize that kick like minimum 5 times of successfully making that kick. So I like to translate that thing, the same thing for in business too, right? Setting up for meetings, setting up for calls, preparing for them in a very similar manner, that I can stay disciplined and foresee any problems that may occur, and if they do occur, like why are they happening, and if it's something that keeps happening, it's like, how do I fix that, right? So I find the business and football worlds are like collide very well. So I think a lot of preparation transfers from sport to business, and I think that's why a lot of you see it now more than ever. It's like a lot of the athletes are becoming very successful just because of how they really transition from sport to a corporate career.
Yeah, there's so much there to unpack. I think it's interesting. I mean, there seems to be that moment or that advice you got when you got into, I think you said the CFL, where it was like, hey man, now's the time to prepare for what's next.
Yes.
And, how pivotal that was. I think that's also got like translates to the business world, which is, wherever you are in your career, I've always told folks, don't wait till you're looking for your next move to start networking and building those relationships. So I think that advice also spans, business and sports. But
sure.
Seems like that set you right on that path of early on thinking about, how's this all going to look? And now you're in this world where you're doing both together. So, it sounds like you really have to kind of like, gear shift in and out of each one, but you're probably seeing that Venn diagram now of how much of what you do overlaps with both, which is what you're speaking to.
Yeah, no, it's you have to be disciplined though, like in terms of I'm probably one of the only athletes in if you consider kickers athletes in the CFL. There's a few other ones that do like financial planning, insurance, and those type of roles where they have their own book of business. But that's usually more focused in the off seasons. I think probably maybe one of three guys that actually have a career, probably one of one that has a career doing both. Just because of my position. Like you don't see a quarterback being able to do what I'm doing because he has to be there for every practice. Or for me, it's like if I'm going to practice, I go for my portion of, my kickoffs on day 2. So it'd be like my kickoffs is 5 minutes in the whole practice. So it's like, do I really need to be there for, inside run? No. So Toronto's realized that. And it's like, hey, come for your practices when you can make it. We'll communicate together in terms of which days you can make practice, which days you can't. And I just take vacation days on the days that we travel if it's a weekday and be able to kind of manage both. But it takes a lot of discipline to be able to say, okay, today is day 2 out of 5 for in terms of training. So I got to do a lower body workout. It's like I also have to be downtown Toronto for meetings all day. It's like, when do I work out? When do I do the meetings? Now I have to watch film a little bit later in terms of what we're doing at practice to catch up. And then also family life. So it just takes a certain amount of discipline to say, to figure out what you're doing and when you're doing it, and really living with your calendar of, what needs to be done, and having non-negotiables. So tonight, go home, play with my daughter, and have dinner with them, the family, and then when she goes to sleep, I got to go downstairs and work out. But it's part of the process. It's part of the discipline that I think really helps me in the business world. Because when I have non-negotiables in my calendar, it's like, hey, I have to call so-and-so. I have to meet with so-and-so. I have to set up a meeting with this banker or this lawyer. We have to set up a networking event with them, build a stronger relationship, like non-negotiables. And so I think that's why those both worlds really help me become successful, not only in the business world, but also in sports.
Yeah. You're reminding me of someone, maybe one of those podcast guys, but in the sports world, training and all that. And he said something like, if you want to be like an athlete, you got to train like an athlete. And so I guess you need to act like you're a professional athlete, and if you want to have the results. And so being an actual professional athlete, that's your job. But everybody in the world of business should act as because if they want that and they want to perform, and it's amazing where the physical and the mental come together. I want to dive into that a little bit. Just
sure.
How much for you, is physical versus mental? And when it comes down to a kick, like you talked about the visualization, the preparation, but it's just like it's one moment, and you could objectively, like when you're kicking on your own, probably hit 100 in a row. As far as you want, and then with all the variables around you in that moment. So talk a little bit about how much of that is your physical capability versus your mental strength and your mental outlook.
So physically, like every kicker in the NFL, CFL are probably within 5 yards of each other. Like if Brandon Aubrey's making a 65 today, I'm making probably a 60, and someone else like Harrison Butker's maybe a 70, right? We're all within 5 yards of variance in terms of the physical ability. And once you get to this level, it's like you've gone past that 10,000 hour, 10,000 reps, like becoming professional at it, right? You've mastered that skill. The difference lies between someone not playing and playing and someone playing and being an all-star or being the best that there is the mental. Between the ears and how you prepare. And one book that I tend to read every year is Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. The reason for is golfers and kickers is by Dr. Bob Rotella. Kickers and golfers are very similar, both looking at wind. They're both keeping their head down when they're swinging. They're both going through the mental preparations of a swing, trying to keep the same swing every time. So like you said, I could probably hit, a 30-yard field goal 100 times in a row. But when it comes to games, there are also other factors that play into the hold, the snap, the blocking, everything else, right? And sometimes the mental slip up, or you turn your club too fast, which is your foot, or you open up your club too much, then you sliced it, right? So there's so much that goes into it that is the mental part that differentiates a good kicker from a great kicker. Same thing in golf. So that's why I use a lot of books, because there's a lot more books on mental preparation and mental visualization in other sports than just kicking. There's not very many in kicking, but all those translate. Last year, before Rory won his first green jacket, I think it was like 4 or 5 months before, he hired this author, Dr. Bob Rotella, which is Golf is Not a Game But Perfect. He talks a lot more about the process versus the end result, which is a game changer. That and neutral thinking is two. I'm not sure what the book is called, but when I was with the Dallas Cowboys, one of the students of the author of the book was actually the Cowboys and the Yankees mental coach. So he'd come in every Wednesday and talk about neutral thinking. So no matter how high you are in the game, how low you are in the game, you always want to stay like level-headed throughout the game and not get emotional. You scored it, especially for kickers. You're down by 4 points. There's 2 minutes left. You score a huge touchdown, right? The fans going crazy, team's going crazy. Wide receiver caught like a one-hander, OBJ type of kick. What's next? A point after, and the clock's already started for you to kick, right? So as soon as they score, ref blows it in. You have 40 seconds. You got to go kick it. So it's like, how can you stay neutral? How can you stay locked in the game? So you almost have to take yourself out of the game and just think about process and not the end result, whether you make the kick or not. Because if you do the process correctly, then the result should take care of itself. And you hear the analogy a lot in sports, like don't look at the scoreboard. Shouldn't matter, right? And that same idea. It's just because like the scoreboard is the result. And if you worry about the result, you're not going to focus on your process. And so he speaks a lot about that. And once Rory got him as a coach, he got the green jacket for the very first time, just because he changed his way he's thinking, because he was leading just like years before, and he would fall right towards the end because his mind would shift. But I think Dr. Rotella really helped him focus in terms of process, making sure that, you're not worrying if you're going to put on that green jacket. You're more worried if I can knock this 3-foot putt.
But it's such a slippery slope, right? Because if you're like trying to keep that even feel and not do like a celebration dance after a field goal or whatever, it could also kind of go too far, can't it? Like you're tensing up too much. So is there too much visualization if you do 6 times versus 5 times? Like, where does that line come before it's too much preparation, too much visualization, too much focus on process?
Yeah, I think, you have to have a plan, like with anything, right? So for me, it's like on game day, I'm looking at the weather, trying to figure out which way the wind is going. So I'm already, my mind's preparing. Mine just happens many times. You get to the field and the wind is totally going in a different direction, or halfway through the game, the wind changes. But to the best of your knowledge, how you're preparing. So before, like a few hours before I go to the stadiums, I'll take a shower and just lay in my bed for 30 minutes and just go through certain scenarios on the field. It's a lot easier for kickers, because our motions are still, it's like snap ball, hold ball, and I kick it, right? Whether it's quarterback, you have moving parts, you have different variables. So for me, it's more the wind and understanding, visualizing success. So I'm going through each spot every 5 yards, both sides of the field. So I'm visualizing that for 30 minutes. So I've made one kick from every position on the field, right? And then when I go to the field, I'll do a walkthrough and I'll do the same thing, but now I'm there, right? And I'm living what I visualized a few hours ago. And then once I come out with my equipment, that's the 3rd time, like I'm visualizing and actually actioning the visualization. And then finally during the game, I visualize that the ball going through, like successfully completing the task. And so that's 4th time. So by the time I actually kick it, the 5th time. So I think you have to have a plan in terms of how many times you visualize. You have to have some action in between. For kickers, you go into the net and kicking it, seeing how the ball feels off your foot. But you're right. If you're too much on this side of just thinking, not doing, you almost psych yourself out. So that's why you have to have a balance in there to actually practice. Let's say for a sales guy, you can read a script and visualize a script and visualize what the person on the phone is going to say when you pick up the phone. But if you just read that script all day long and don't make a call somewhere in between to test it out, you're not going to know how you're going to respond, right? So same thing, like I said, like a lot of things I use in sports as in business. So yeah, I think that there's a fine line, but if you add a little bit of testing in there, it should be okay.
Part of me feels like the CFO role could be a little bit like a kicker.
Yeah.
You could do everything right, and things are moving and things are operating. It's when something goes wrong that people notice you.
Yeah.
How have you felt like that piece in business? Because it's so obvious as a kicker. It's like people are like, take it for granted a little bit, but like, man, when you miss, that is like everything. And so in the business world, do you see that a lot of times? And how do you kind of use that knowledge of, being okay with accepting like failure and how that could look in like optics and managing that kind of expectations around that?
Yeah, well, a lot of times too, it's not up to you. Like if we look at the M&A world, right? It's with everything that was happening with the tariffs a year ago. Like that first quarter was like dry. Everyone was just stuck. It's like, see what US does. How many, what percentage are we getting tariff this week and yesterday, and when's the next tweet coming? So every business owner is, who should be thinking about succession planning is on hold. Right. Every business owner that might have made a different decision is on hold. And so business is not flowing. And that was across.
It's like the wind.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, it was like, okay, well, maybe, we're not successful right now, but what do we do in order to be prepared for Q2 or Q3? Right. It's like, yes, they don't want to have those conversations, but we want to be there for our clients, understand what their needs are. It's like, okay, we're really affected by tariffs. Okay, how can we strategize? Can we change different suppliers? How can we bring some of that work here? Or can we go to Europe or anywhere else in Asia? So in times of like struggle, it's when I think you can really build your strongest relationships in terms of like a biz dev role, right? And yeah, you might not be having deals coming through every day or new clients coming in every week and whatnot. So in this scenario, it's, you got to build those relationships during those times. It's like everyone knows what's happening geopolitically, and it's kind of putting a halt on business right now. And we're not succeeding in terms of actual hard dollars of coming in through the door, but we are succeeding in planting those seeds with those prospects that when, down the road, if they do have a problem, they know that we're going to come because we spend that time with them and we built a relationship with them. So I think that plays a huge role when we aren't successful. It's like, how can we go? In sports, it's like go back to the basics, right? But what does that truly mean? It's like going down to the fundamentals, like what got you there in the first place. It's that relationship. It's caring for that client. Same thing for sports. It's like doing the hard work of going spend an extra 10 minutes in the gym, 10 minutes on the field, having those that grinder mindset of knowing what got you there is what's really going to help you through those hard times. And I think understanding and telling that story to management, if we're a little dry this quarter and this is the reason, but here's all the companies that I'm speaking to, here's everything that I'm doing in order to combat that in a time of need. And it's like, okay, and to their credit, it's like, okay, how can we help? Where can we help? What partners can we get involved? And how can we strategize? Can we bring our strategy team to help them with their growth in time like this? Can we bring our international tax teams in to be able to adjust some of these waves or these winds that are being caused by the U.S.? So I think it's just going back to the basics, understanding how you got there in the first place, building those relationships in business, and you got to work hard.
It's kind of control what you can control to some degree.
100%. 100%.
Maybe helpful for our audience, expand a little bit on the role currently and the business development across the firm. What are the areas that you're working with businesses to help out with?
Yeah. So right now I'm leading the business development here at Richter. As I said, it's a 100-year-old Canadian firm. The one thing that really attracted to me to Richter is because when I was at KPMG, it was, we're as part of the M&A advisory team. So every transaction that occurred, once that the business owner got the check, it was that relationship was done until they wanted to buy another business of some sort, right? And they couldn't invest that money with KPMG because they don't have a family office of some sort. They only have family office in terms of tax. So when I heard how Richter approaches it in terms of being able to provide and help the business owner with their business needs, whether that is through succession planning, whether it's for growth, whether it's audit, tax, or any type of risks, to be able to help their business run, to even executive search, they want to take a step back, right? And then it's like once they do succeed the business, we have this family office side, or if you want to get the kids involved, we have training to help your second gen, third gen, fourth gen to continue growing that business if you want to keep it within the family and be able to provide them with some family office services, whether providing them as like a CFO, internal CFO for them, right? We have all the C-suite executives, and then they maybe came into some extreme wealth from selling their business. We have our wealth management group as well. And lastly, we have governance and real estate, and governance in terms of things go wrong. And like once you get so wealthy, it's managing the families, managing the kids, and understanding what everyone's roles are within the family business. We have a group for that too. So it just seemed like we have second and third generation businesses and business families, and we have second and third generation Richter employees. So the fact that you're able to stay with this family or with a business owner more long term versus just once it's sold, you go your way. If you need anything, we're here to help you and introduce you to wealth managers and bankers and this and that. But here it's like we can continue helping you grow to the next gen and getting the kids involved. So I specialize in bringing net new clients to the firm, especially in the Toronto region. We're across the country now. We just opened our Calgary office as well. So I help across all three offices and Chicago, but my main focus is helping Toronto grow. We've been in and out of the market a couple of times, and we see that there's a huge opportunity with what is in the GTA and Ontario. And so I've been working with the team here. We've set a strategy in terms of our growth and business development, how we're going to work internally, how we're going to work externally, certain events and marketing that we're going to be involved in, why we're not going to be involved in others, and keeping track of everything too, keeping track of the work that we give out, keep track of the work that we're getting in from the banks and the lawyers. Those all play a role into what I do on a day-to-day here at Richter.
Yeah, sounds like a lot, and you're agnostic as it relates to industry. Like, is there a size of business that you focus on predominantly?
We like to focus in upper mid market, like a lot of groups, just because they're more sophisticated. If we're doing an audit for a $20 million revenue company, is probably going to be the same amount of work as, if not more, for a company that's like 50 or 60 million or 100 million, just because there's more things to do within it. So we like to focus more on upper mid market. It would be great just so that we can provide not just audit and tax need. We can kind of really wrap our hands around the client and like the business owner and their families for the long term, right? We're not just providing just a tax return for them. We're not just doing just an audit or a review or a compilation of some sort for them. We want to be able to provide more services to them. And actually, with one strategy that our CEO and CEO put together, we used to have a lot more clients, and now we're almost cut in half, just because we want to be able to service our clients in more depth and be able to build stronger relationships across different lines of service than versus, having 5,000 clients and they're all audit, one tax, versus let's have, 1,000 or so and just really hone in terms of helping them grow their business, helping them operate their families and operate their needs in both sides of their life. So I think that's what's really been a key driver and differentiator here in Ontario and Quebec, and it's something that's has been working for us.
You I suspect come across like good and bad, and you meet so many business owners, management teams, and different types of businesses. What are some of the things you see, traits wise in those that are most successful versus those that may struggle? Like, what are some of those qualities that you come across? You're like, okay, these guys, whether they're hiring Richter or not, it can't always be the ones that hire you. Oh, these guys have it right. But the ones that you say, hey, that's what good looks like. What are some of those qualities over time that you've learned, the good versus the bad, and how they separate?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, listen, advisors, like anything else, like a good lawyer, a good banker, it's going to cost money, right? And similar to us, it's understanding if you're an entrepreneur, and I meet with them daily, and what separates the good ones from the great ones, understanding their shortfalls, understanding what they can outsource, understanding that, if I spend an extra $5,000 on this product, that it's actually going to deliver me the needs that I want, versus cutting $5,000 and having to spend extra 40, 50 hours in a year, right? So you have to the good to great ones is understanding, okay, everyone has a role within their business, and having the trust in those people within your corporation to be able to do their jobs, and you're being able to step back. And we always ask, are you working for your business or on your business, right? So it's being able to be that strategic lens, especially if the CEO or the president of the company. It's like, you don't need to go and deliver the mail, right? And just using that as an analogy, there's times where you need to step in, but it's how can you grow your business to the level that you want it to be, and you're going to have the right people beside you to be able to grow. It's going to cost, of course, but the great ones understand why the advisors are there, and understand what it means for them to do their job properly, and be able to support them, and be able to be a sounding board for them, and to kind of steer the ship in the right direction. Because you mentioned earlier about different types of groups, the ones that you're part of in terms of for CFOs. There's plenty of different organizations like YPOs and EOs around Toronto, and it's great to be able to network with those entrepreneurs and kind of be a sounding board to, like, this is what I'm going through. But to be able to have a group of professionals that see this day to day in terms of other businesses and other business owners, and be able to help make decisions, I think that really elevates a lot of the business owners to get from that, always say, from 1 to 10 and 10 to 100 million. Right. So I think it's same thing in school and sports, understanding when to ask for help and not being afraid of it.
Yeah. It seems like so many business owners, CEOs, like they struggle to let go. And it got them there. But that control at some point, they need to, delegate, find the right people, and build leverage. And
if you want to stay there, by all means, that's you. But if it's like, if you're telling me I'm doing 10 million right now, I want to get to 50 million, but nothing's changing, it's, you got to look at yourself in the mirror a little bit, and to be able to understand what is holding me back, and speaking to others to understand what got them there, and who's better than. I'm not saying it has to be Richter, right? There's plenty of advisory firms on Bay Street that, they see it on a day-to-day basis. This is what worked for this company. This is what worked for this company. This is, this is why we feel that your company can get to because of these things in place. Right. So, you see it.
So does it start with, what are your goals? Because again, maybe they just want to stay as is, have a great lifestyle business. I mean, in the upper mid-market, they're beyond that, but it's really understanding what they want, what their motivation is. Yeah.
And what's keeping them up at night, right? And long term, it's, I have a kid that's just finishing university. I want them to be involved. Great. What if they don't want to be involved? if you ask them, right? And if that's not the case, if they don't want to be involved, then it's like, well, now you got to look at an executive search. And if you want to take a step back in the business, or if you want to sell it completely, right? There's different strategies. You can have a business plan, like a yearly business plan, but you need to have one for 3, you need to have one for 5, and then aspirationally one for 10. Not that you're ever going to maybe need it, but at least it has to be there, right? So, and to understand for them, what is at play? It's like, if my kid doesn't want to get involved, then do I still own the business? Yes. Okay. Then we have to find executive president or CFO, build a C-suite executive, depending on how much time I want to myself, right? That's all part of it. Once you build that relationship, that comes naturally, and them telling you, this is what my needs are and this is what I'm thinking. Or we've most recently, and I think it's because some of the tax rules are changing towards it too, is employee owned. They want to share, like if they've gone through succession, they've made enough money, like they're comfortable living their way they are. And it's like, how do I give back to my employees? How can I have them share in the success? How can I have them take over the business? Well, great, but the owners or the employees may not have the money to buy you out, right? So how does that look like? How can we, kind of fill the gap for them to pay you what you want, be able to retire or take a step back, and for them to take over? So there's so many avenues. It comes down to having those discussions with the business owner, understanding what their needs are, and it changes daily for some. But it just once you've built that great relationship with them, you can be a little bit more blunt in terms of what they want to do and what their needs are, what their family needs are too.
Yeah, and I think what you said at the outset and at the end there, we see a lot of that, which is what's keeping you up at night, what's sort of the burning pain point. And if we try to tell you all the things that we can do to unlock value in the business, it's just going to overwhelm and scare them. And but if we just help address some of those burning needs, or one burning need, then you build a relationship and the trust, and then that they start to open up to say, hey, what else could you do for me?
Absolutely.
And that's great to see. I think the sports analogy, like sports seems to have figured out a lot, and maybe this is in the professional ranks. They have the coach, the trainers, the everybody has a role, right? The team, positionally, that's like how sports works. And there's some learnings there for business for sure. And we've talked about a lot of the things that translate, right? But building out your team and having a role, and decentralizing and the right decision making. There is some centralization, but the right structure for the right business, right? What are some learnings, if any, from business that you take to sports? And you walk into the Argos locker room after a boardroom session at Richter, and you're like, guys, you got to hear what happened. Are there any of those learnings?
It's more from career perspective when it comes to that. It's really one thing that was given to me in terms of the guys that came before me is helping the guys understand, like, football is not forever, right? Understanding, giving them the kind of the knowledge to kind of think, how do I best, because CFL is only 5 to 6 months max out of the year. So what do you do in the other 5-6 months, 5-6 months out of the year, right? Especially some of the younger guys. Like, you got to start thinking about these things, and to be able to, if you do want to start a business. So some of the things that might translate is, like, if you do want to start a business, how do you set it up properly? You got to think about incorporation. If you have business partners involved, make sure, because I've had a few guys. There's a lot of entrepreneurs within, like, football, because you have all these different types of personalities, right? And making sure that the agreements between shareholders or business partners, that's the biggest thing that I can take from the business world, to be able to share to some of them, because there is entrepreneurial guys on each football team, and it's making sure that they have their ducks before they even get started, make sure that they have terms that they want, understanding what that means. And so I'll be able, I'm able to kind of advise some of the guys, and even through the CFL PA union, there's different support system, and helping the guys understand fundamentally, because you're young and you're starting a new business, how do I set up this at the very bottom to be the best that it can be, and then be able to grow the business, right? But if you just do it ad hoc, and like all entrepreneurs, you're wearing 30 different hats at the very beginning, but the more fundamentally sound you are at the beginning of the business, then it makes things down the road a lot easier. Whether there's an exit, God forbid, if there is a death or anything else, do you really want that guy's wife to come in or girlfriend to come in because they left all the shares to them, and now they're making decisions on the business that you and your business partner, and she has no clue what's happening, or she doesn't like the one color in the logo. Now you have to spend $200,000 to change the color of your logo. So there's similar things like that. It's having those rules and within the business agreement to be able to say, these are the things that we need to have said before we actually get into business together. So sharing some of those businesses or even opportunities. A lot of guys want to invest, and understanding, what's the difference between a pre-revenue company and something that's a little bit more mature, understanding franchises, different industry franchises. Like I have our Chad Kelly, for those Toronto Argonaut fans, CFL fans, they'll know who he is. Very prominent, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, very successful collegiate career as well. And so obviously he has opportunities come to him all the time, especially some of these higher profile players. And so we'll bounce ideas off each other a lot in terms of, hey, this is the company that, they want to do this. It's like, I wouldn't want to go into that industry. Why not? And it's like, well, this is why. And so, and we always strategize too in terms of how do we get other people in the locker room to be able to invest in, in a new franchise that has like 5 locations. Right? What does that mean? It's not the same as NFL money, but some CFL players still make some decent amount of coin and are able to kind of divest, not just from other endeavors. So.
Yeah, it's not just like the kickers that take that advice. It's the folks that have a platform, a brand, a way to monetize that starting early.
Yeah,
and it's the parallels are there. I love how you said like startup and more established business, because you're coming from early stage startup, scale up. You raise like that seed round, the Series A. That money comes in. You haven't really proved anything yet, and that's like the young athlete that's getting some money. Life is good. They're the hot new thing or the next big thing, and then you got to start to sort of prove that and get the next one and the next one. And in business, like that money comes in the bank and you're doing a lot of things, and that goes faster than you think. And so like I think back to that 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, I think probably athletes should be thinking along the same lines, like and what are the things you need to do today. It's really interesting, and you've got a front row seat because, again, being uniquely in both at the same time. And I don't think there's too many folks that we can say do that. Another show that comes to mind, by the way. Ballers. You ever see that one?
One of my favorite. Yeah, of course.
That one is great.
Of course. That one's a great show.
Are you the Rock? Are you the Rock in that one?
Yeah, I'd say so. I have similar mindsets to him. He's a great entrepreneur too. And that's the thing with football players. Just I think the education level has gone up too in comparison to the past, because guys are actually making more and more money than they used to, especially in the NFL and NBA as well. So less players are going broke due to they weren't advised properly, especially from a tax system perspective. Quick story, because in terms of education too, for venture, while I was playing the NFL, I got to spend a few weeks at a venture capital firm in San Francisco, and it was back one of the players. His father started the very first one, and he's like, I want to help these players so bad. They're making great money. They're going to invest in this venture, but players didn't understand how venture works. It's like there's a capital call, and then one of these businesses has to hit for us to make money. But by year 7, once like some of these businesses are realized, then you start getting paid for the next however many years. And very soon he found out that, football players are very impatient. And so he stopped investing with football players because they didn't understand the concept of VC. So it's just sharing that conversation. It's like, once you invest in a company, it's like, it's very, very difficult to take that money out. So if you need it, you gotta brace yourself to, like, this is money that I'm not going to see for a very long time. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then you got to be able to live with the consequences, right? So, there's a lot of education that with the young guys, try to pass that on to them.
It's kind of the constant thread throughout everything here. It's, be curious, ask questions, share, knowledge is power. Start now. Don't wait till you make the mistake, or don't wait till you're, till you need it. Just
like what you alluded to earlier, right? Don't start networking once you're ready to shift in a career. It's like, you got to do that way beforehand.
Yeah. And I acknowledge, like, through my career, I would sort of come out of, 5-year stints with my head down and then be like, whoa, what's going on out here in the world? I think that's almost lacking from an education perspective for kids coming out of school, the importance of it. Some naturally have it, some don't. But I think that's a core competency that should be there, as should high performance, which is, just a huge field. And, we've touched on a lot of that, but anything else you want to share as it relates to performance and, be it mental, physical, or just high performance as its own thing?
Yeah.
And, how much more attention do we have to pay to performance as people in the world of business?
I think the one thing that gets forgotten, because we think our business owners, entrepreneurs, athletes, go-getters, right? They're taking risks, even for athletes, like 3% or 1.3% make it. And I think the 2.8% make it past 3 years, right? So it's a high risk situation for them to, like, make these decisions. You put so much pressure on your mind, you put so much pressure on your body. And one thing that's lacking, I think it's picking up better steam, is the recovery portion. Like one study that just came out a little bit ago, and one that our strength coach used to always preach, it's like the chance of you getting injured in a game if you don't get 8 hours or more of sleep every day. And it's not like I play tomorrow night and I'm getting 8 hours tonight, that should be fine. It's like consistently getting 8 hours of sleep is like 80% more likely to be injured than versus not.
Wow.
Right. You know what I mean? So, and if your livelihood is your body, and being like, the best ability is availability in sports, right? If you're not available and you're in the cold tub, you're not available, right? You're not available to play. You're not going to be making money. You're not going to be able to play. So I think that goes the same thing with business, right? Burning out, that's a huge factor. And I think people have to understand and give time for them. As much important as working out, as much important as, staying late and finishing a file, is as staying late and going to the gym, doing some yoga there, right? Doing some stretching, doing some meditation, going for a massage. Like, how many businesses, especially in Bay Street, like every one of them has benefits, like going for a massage or acupuncture just to decompress. I think that's one thing that's being missed in both business and sports, is the importance of recovery and being able to come out swinging when you need to, and take some time off when you can.
Love that message. That's resonates, just as I've been much more focused on such things as sleep, and it comes back, time and time again, you hear sleep is the foundation. Now, so is diet, so are many things as it relates to recovery, but I think for the business world, CEOs, CFOs are notorious. It's like a badge of honor. Look, I haven't slept.
I used to be the same. I used to run on 4 hours of sleep. I had no problem. But once I did, like, now a minimum I do 7. And my energy levels are insane. So I'm way more productive throughout the day, and I don't need 10 cups of coffee now. So it's changed me.
It's amazing. Hey, we covered a lot of movies. We covered a book, we covered shows and books, but I do always ask, what podcasts you're listening to, and on your way to the facilities, or to game day, or to work, or to a business meeting. What podcasts are on your list?
I would say more. I've been staying away from podcast, not staying away, but I've made a shift a little bit because I want to do a little bit more reading. And obviously, given my profession on both like football and business, it's very difficult to kind of find time to read. So I've been doing a lot of the listening. But I jump from podcasts to listening to books online here on the apps. Like I it's not any particular ones that I listen to. It's more the business. I'm always trying to find the athlete in me. It's like trying to find an edge. What else can I know about a certain topic? Whether it be tax, whether it be strategy, whether it be M&A, listening to deals and what they experience. So a lot of business podcasts I'll listen to, just because if I'm going to spend that time, I want to do something to better myself. And same thing for the books. Right. Those are the main things. So when I'm listening, even to your podcast, it's like I want podcasts more for educational purpose, for growth purposes, just because that's how I've been kind of wired. But I'll jump between. I wouldn't say I have any favorites, but I'll jump. Jump between. Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah. That's good. Okay. And it sounds like you're a continuous learning guy, and yeah. I mean, this was in from an early age to now, but the last question is, if you can go back, knowing what you know now, what would you change? What would you do differently? What advice would you give your younger self?
Okay, so I think tell my younger self is, if I change something, I wouldn't be here where I am today, right? So I'm very happy with the way my life has turned out, and I'm very thankful and appreciative of everything that I've accomplished, and been able to live in Canada and this beautiful free country. The one thing I would say is sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to take a risk. Like even when I went from CFL to NFL, because I was always under contract. I'm like, oh, if some team talks to me, then I'll ask for a release. And it wasn't until my 6th year when I said. And it was from advice of my agent, which kind of helped me push over the fact it's like, no team's going to sign you if you're under contract with a CFL team, because they're not going to go through the headache. They want to know if I can sign you right now.
Yeah, free and clear.
Done. Okay. So I think I wish I'd have done that a little bit sooner, because when I entered my very first year in the NFL, I was 30 years old, which is a little bit later than usual. But God's planning, and I was still able to accomplish my goal. But it's taking those chances earlier and not being afraid, especially at a younger age. If there's any younger kids listening to this podcast, it's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes early on, because it's just like when you first invest with investment analyst or advisor, it's like you're 25 years old. This 1,500 is not going to mean anything when you're 65. So don't put in GICs right now. Put in more high growth, because if you lose $1,500 today, it's, this 1,500 can grow to like 10,000 by the time you're 65, right? Yeah. So it's like you want to be more less cautious when you're younger, and then once you get older, then you can switch to the GICs. The same thing, you can slow down once you're in the 60s and 70s. But take those risks earlier on. Don't be afraid. That's what I'll tell myself.
Great answer. And it looks like it's worked out. I love that part around, if you change anything, you wouldn't be where you are. And so you have your journey, which is amazing. But then, that other part resonates with me just because like my own blueprint for what I wanted to do in my career. And it took me a long time. But I think, sometimes you manifest it. So even though the call came, or you were doing things along the way to make sure that call did happen, even if you didn't, step out to make the call yourself
100%.
As soon as you'd like. So that's some great advice. Hey man, this has been so insightful. So I think helpful, and folks in the business community and the sports community, I think, can come together on this information, because the worlds blend so much together. So really appreciate you taking the time. Hope you'll do it again sometime, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.